Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again, and here we go again with another randomly selected commander. This one we're going back to the Forgotten Realms set, and we're going back to looking at dungeons, because Varis Silverymoon Ranger, as well as having Reach and Ward 1, lets us, whenever we cast a creature or planeswalker spell, venture into a dungeon. And this ability only triggers once a turn. That's important, notice that, once each turn. That's the important part for this deck. And then whenever you complete a dungeon, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Okay, now there's been a lot of dungeon decks. They're usually either in Esper colours or black-white. We've all seen them, but I don't think anyone's really tried to do the mono green dungeoning deck. So that's what I'm doing today. So here we go. Please, if you can, hit the subscribe button. Help me out down below, and I'd really appreciate it if you could. But I'll stop doing the sales pitch now, and we'll have a talk about Varis. So here we go. Right then, obviously it's a mono green deck, and we want things that help us do things nicely. So we've got a Zalorius Shepherding just to make sure nothing we cast, any green spells we cast can't be countered, which basically means once we have this in play, the whole deck's uncounterable. Then we have cheap stuff, so we have Arbor Elf, we have Birds of Paradise, Delightful Halfling, Mystic, Elvish Mystic, Firenoid Elves, Llanowar Elves to help us all ramp up to Varis, hopefully straight on turn 2 with a bit of luck. Beyond that, we have Mirkwood Spider, because it's a nice cheap 1/1 with Death Touch, and whenever it attacks we give a legendary creature we control Death Touch, so giving it to Varis isn't the end of the world. And then we have some of the fun stuff. Moss Viper for more Death Touch, and then the first one of the flash creatures is Ambush Viper. Because we can trigger it once each turn, having some flash creatures when we can flash them in on our opponent's turns and venture further into the dungeon does help. And this is the first one of them. Initiate's Companion, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, we get to untap a target creature or land, so that helps a little bit. It's another cheap one. Intrepid Outlaw, Pack Tactics, whenever it attacks, you attack with creature with total power 6 or greater this turn, we get to venture into a dungeon, which we should be able to do, hence why we have things like Initiate's Companion to bump it up. Boon Satire is also in. This has flash, another one we can flash in to trigger in our opponent's turn to go a little bit further into a dungeon. Caller of the Claw, we can play as an instant, and comes into play. We put a 2/2 green bear creature token into play for each non-token creature that was put in your graveyard from play this turn. Keep this in your hand until someone wraths a board or blows everything up you've got, and then just play this and have a whole army, which you can't complain about. Dryad of the Elysian Grove is purely here to help us play the additional lands. Eldamri, Corvecdal is also in. We can cast creature spells from the top of our library, and then we can pay green and tap it, tap 2 untapped creatures, reveal a card from our hand or the top of our library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield, activate during only your turn. That's here for things that we can do that we may need. Again, it's another creature we could drop out, but you know, some elfish synergies aren't the end of the world in this deck. Green Slime has got flash. It counters a triggered artifact or counter target activated or triggered ability of an artifact or enchantment source. If a permanent's ability is countered this way, you can destroy that permanent. This is quite nice because you can foretell this for 2 and just have it sitting there ready to go whenever you need it for 1 green mana. Again, with Varis, another flash creature you can't complain about. Pouncing Cheetah, 3/2 with flash. Nothing fancy here, just the flash side. Shimmermere has flash as well. Cast artifact cards, though they had flash, is a little bit irrelevant, but it's got flash itself for 3 mana, so we're not going to complain. It's one of the few spells in the deck that can be countered because it's not green. Vile Redeemer has flash. It gives us some Eldrazi Sinyan tokens, which we can use to cast things with. Lictor comes in from 40k land as well. Whenever this enters the battlefield, a creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control this turn, we get a 3/3 green 2-unit warrior as well. So, 4 mana for potentially 6/6 worth of stats on the board. We're not going to complain about. Nightpack Ambusher has flash, 4/4 for 4. Beginning of your end step, if you didn't cast a spell this turn, you get a wolf token, as we all know. Nylea, God of the Hunt, just makes sure all our creatures have trample. Pack Guardian can flash in and enter the battlefield. You may discard a land. If you do, you get another wolf, so another flash creature. Solemn Sim here just to give us some extra mana ramp. Swift Spinner, flash, reach. You get the theme of the deck now. It's pretty good. Under Mountain Adventure is purely here because it enters the battlefield, we take the initiative. Taps for extra mana, and if we've completed a dungeon we get 6 green instead, which really does ramp us something chronic, and we should be able to complete dungeons fairly quickly once we build up some mana. Wandering Troubadour is also in. If you had a land enter the battlefield under your control this turn, you get to venture. Yep. And Yeva, Nature's Herald, is a no-brainer in this deck, giving all of our green creature cards flash. Yeah, brilliant card, love it. Haze Frog, flash, enters the battlefield, get to prevent all combat damage. That does save us, even though it's only a 2-1. I had to play Oja Kaslim, the Deepest Growth, because, well, it's just Oja Kaslim, isn't it? Seedborn Muse lets us untap everything. Snapping Snailback lets us get a big creature on the go. It also has flash, and when it's dealt damage, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So, you know, block some small stuff, make a bigger dinosaur as things go along. Galewind Moose has flash, vigilance, reach, and trample for 6 mana from Bloomborough. I like this card in the drafting. I like this card in sealed. Haven't really seen it much in constructed, but I think it's found a home here in this particular deck. Hollowhenge Overlord, at the beginning of your upkeep, for each creature you control that's a wolf or a werewolf, you get an extra 2/2 wolf. We have got a lot of wolves in the deck, as you've seen, so this makes perfect sense here for me. And then Shrieking Devourer is just here so if we can attack, we get to untap some lands, which helps us out, cast more stuff if we need to, and gives us another way to untap our lands. So we've got the ability to cast our flash creatures as things go along. Just the one Planeswalker is Eliwick, had to be here just for the +1 to venture into a dungeon. The other 2 abilities are fine, but, you know, -7 is a bit of a pipe dream. You get an emblem with creatures you control have trample and haste and get +2/+2 for each differently named dungeon you've completed. Pipe dream, +1 for the venture is good enough. Invasion of Chandelier is also here just so we can go get things back from our graveyard to our hand, and then if we can get it flipped over to the Leyline Surge to put at the beginning of our upkeep, you may put a permanent card from our hand onto the battlefield. Does help. Ramp, not much because we're in green. Well, there's a fair bit. We've got Nature's Law, Rampant Growth, 3 visits, Cultivate, Ranger's Path, and Sky Shroud Claim, and 2 other cards we need to talk about. First, you find a cursed idol, lets us venture into a dungeon, and we create a treasure token. Also gives us the ability to take out annoying artifacts or enchantments if we need to do that. And explore the Underdark. Search your land for up to 2 basic land cards and or gate cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then we take the initiative. So it was another way of triggering the initiative when we needed to. We have a few artifacts, not too many. We've got 50 feet of rope, venture into the dungeon if we can do that. The dungeon map lets us venture into a dungeon but only at sorcery speed. Dungeoneer's pack is also in. Sacrifice it, we take the initiative, gain 3 life, draw a card, and get a treasure token. So it takes you 5 mana to do all that, but it's probably worth it. Saravek's Tomb is also in. We take the initiative, we get to add green, we get to add colours, and if we have the initiative we add 2 colourless. But we can also pay 3 to exile cards from the top of our library until we exile a non-land card. You may cast the card without paying its mana cost once we've completed a dungeon, of course. And finally, Trailblazer's Torch, nice bit of equipment. Enters the battlefield, we take the initiative, and whenever an equipped creature becomes blocked, it deals 2 damage to each creature blocking it. So it gives you a little bit of semi-removal, but enchantments are a bit more fun. Exploration, just so we can play extra lands. Sylvan Anthem pumps up all our green creatures, and then green creatures entering let us do a bit of scrying. Find the Path just enchants a land and lets us venture into the dungeon and gives us double green off that land. Growing Rights is Growing Rights, so we get our Persuado Gaia's Cradle. Rights of Flourishing, card draw, extra land draw. We need to get the lands into play so we can flash the creatures into play. That's what we're doing all this for. Sylvan Scavenging, I'm getting a little bit obsessed with. I know in green decks you see it a lot at the moment, but +1/+1 counters or raccoons is useful. But to help us out a little bit more, we have Tribute to the World Tree as well, so we can get those lovely +1/+1 counters on all our small stuff. Defense of the Heart comes in. If an opponent controls 3 or more creatures, we can sack this and go and get 2 of our better creatures, which I think you know which ones we'll be going for. Boom, 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 boom. Guardian Project, just creatures entering non-token ones gives a card draw. Parallel Lives to double up on the number of tokens we get from Varis once we complete dungeons, along with Doubling Season, same idea. Lands wise, we kept it fairly straightforward. We have got a Gaia's Cradle in here. Drop this, cut the cost of the deck down entirely if you're building this in paper by not playing this and just playing a 21st Forest. But we have got Arch, we have got Blighted Woodland to go and find basics, we've got Bonder's Enclave to draw, we've got Broker's Hideout to go and fetch land, well, fetch our forests out and gain a life, and Cabaretti Courtyard. Castle Garenbrig gives us 6 mana. Dungeon's Ascent, well, you know, tap and untap legendary creature you control, venture into a dungeon. Yep. Fertile Thicket just lets us go and find a basic land from the top. Gingerbread Cabin gives us a food, assuming we've got 3 other forests in play. Myriad Landscape, because we go and get 2 forests for this. Oran Reef the Vastwood makes a lot of sense in this deck. Enters the battlefield tapped, and then we can tap it to put +1/+1 counters on each of our green creatures that enter the battlefield this turn. Reliquary Tower for the no extra land size. Temple of the False God to make sure we can always cast Varis once they've been killed off. Riveter's Outlook. The Hunter's Maid just lets us draw a card. And Yavimaya Cradle of Growth means everything taps for green mana if we need it to. And that's it. Varis is just fun. I've played it a couple of times. It is quite funny watching people go, huh, how are you venturing into a dungeon when it's my turn, when you've cast a flash creature? And they forget about this. The walled one is actually respectively workable as well. Occasionally, yes, people do target and pay the extra one, that's fine. But it does make people think twice about doing things like that. And I have enjoyed playing it when I've been testing it. So, hey, a little bit of fun to finish off the Christmas, New Year video every day streak. We will be back down to our normal 4 videos a week with decks as from Monday, which will be what, the 6th of January for me, and you know, with the occasional stream replay coming in on a Friday and other bits and pieces, as you know, if you're regular followers here on the channel. But for now, if you think there's anything I've missed off, let me know in the comments down below. Come and give me a follow over on Twitch. You can see me playing Varis when I'm streaming next. But for now, that's it. I hope the start of the new year has gone well for you, and I'll be back next week with some more videos, more random commanders as we wait for the next set to come out. So we'll see what happens. But for now, take care. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.